my friends. This is the second Sunday of Advent, year C, first reading, Baruch, chapter 5, verses 1 to 9. Jerusalem, take off your robe of mourning and misery. Put on the splendor of glory from God forever, wrapped in the cloak of justice from God. Bear on your head the mitre that displays the glory of the eternal name, for God will show all the earth your splendor. You will be named by God forever, the peace of justice, the glory of God's worship. Up, Jerusalem, stand upon the heights, look to the east and see your children, gathered from the east and the west at the word of the Holy One, rejoicing that they are remembered by God. Led away on foot by their enemies, they left you. But God will bring them back to you, borne aloft in glory, as on royal thrones. For God has commanded that every lofty mountain be made low, and that the age-old depths and gorges be filled to level ground, that Israel may advance secure in the glory of God. The forests and every fragrant kind of tree have overshadowed Israel at God's command. For God is leading Israel in joy, by the light of his glory, with his mercy and justice for company. My friends, Baruch was a royal scribe. He's often been remembered as the prophet Jeremiah's secretary and amanuensis. Please keep in mind that in this time, only 2% of people were literate. Indeed, in all ancient populations, that was so. Surely, scholars tell us, Baruch and Jeremiah were contemporaries and friends. Baruch had written the first Jeremiah scroll as the prophet dictated it to him. Jeremiah tried to assuage Baruch's disappointment that he might never receive personal fame and recognition for delivering an oracle from Yahweh, saying Baruch should be grateful that his life will be spared in the coming cataclysm. King Jehoiakim burned the first Jeremiah scroll. So the prophet Jeremiah dictated another to Baruch. Ironically, contemporary scholars agree that the document we call Baruch was probably not authored by the historical Baruch. Like so many other books in the Bible, Baruch is a forgery. Being inspired does not change that. Although this collection of material is set in the context of the fall of Jerusalem way back in 587 BCE, before the Common Era, the actual date of the composition of the book called Baruch is probably somewhere between 300 BCE and prior to 70 Common Era, just before the fall of Jerusalem, long after the historical Jeremiah and Baruch had died. Baruch chapter 4 verse 5 all the way through chapter 5 verse 9 constitute one piece of literature. And the verses used in the first reading of the second Sunday of Advent in the Common Lectionary, Baruch chapter 5 verses 1 through 9, are spoken by the prophet to Jerusalem. My friends, these are words of comfort. Take off your robe of mourning and misery. The exiles are returning. God will bring them back to you. Jerusalem, the city, receives new names from God, the peace of justice and the glory of God's worship. Now, we don't have any Hebrew text for Baruch in our earliest records, in our earliest extant manuscripts of the document. But the Greek Septuagint version of Baruch, which is what we have, uses a Greek word for justice, which is the one that translates the Hebrew mishpat. Jerusalem will experience the peace that derives from doing what is right. Peace and justice will prevail forever. The God of Israel leads his client child Israel from exile back home, back to Jerusalem, the temple city, guides them with divine mercy and justice, mishpat. Just as John the Dunker, John the Baptist, in Luke chapter 3, verse 4, cites 2 Isaiah chapter 40, verse 3 to 5, to encourage his listeners to prepare a smooth path for the Lord in this Sunday's gospel, So does Baruch in the first reading observe that God personally will prepare a smooth road for the returnees. These are concepts that help link or bridge these readings, the first reading and the gospel, in this Sunday's lectionary readings. And the responsorial psalm for this Sunday, this second Sunday of Advent, comes from Psalm 126. Yahweh has done great things for us. We, Israel, are filled with joy. When Yahweh brought back the captives of Zion, we were like men dreaming. Then our mouth was filled with laughter, and our tongue with rejoicing. Yahweh has done great things for us. We are filled with joy. Then they said among the peoples, Yahweh has done great things for them. Yahweh has done great things for us. We are glad indeed. Yahweh has done great things for us. We are filled with joy. Restore our fortunes, O Yahweh, like the torrents in the southern desert. Those who sow in tears shall reap rejoicing. Yahweh has done great things for us. We are filled with joy. Although they go forth weeping, carrying the seed to be sown, they shall come back rejoicing, carrying their sheaves. Yahweh has done great things for us. We are filled with joy. This psalm, Psalm 126, was sung at the New Year, and it reflects the sentiments of Israelites who would look back at the old year and realize how often and in how many ways they had shamed, dishonored, failed their patron, the God of Israel. Indeed, the backward glance frequently involved a view of misfortunes, reversals, scorn by other nations, and even exile. But now it is a new year. Now fortunes have turned. They are reversed. There has been a change. Now the restored Israelites can hardly believe it. Their enemies have been forced to admit that their God has finally done great things for them. It seemed like it would never come, but now it has. It is a new time. It is a new year. This Sunday in the church's lectionary, these verses serve as a fitting bridge between the Old Testament reading from Baruch and the Sunday Gospel reading from Luke chapter 3, verses 1 to 6, both of which speak of a very new and redemptive thing that the Lord God is already beginning to do. These are themes which resonate in our Advent time as we prepare for Christmas.